Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin. All right, well that doesn't suck. All right, Sturgeon Bay. I love Sturgeon Bay. Let's go. I know that I need to catch a 5.5 pounder or 5 pounder. I figured 5 plus could give me a shot at heavy hitters. I thought I needed a top 20, top 25 finish, qualify for REDCREST. Felt kind of comfortable. Got big ones. I got the opportunity to achieve both my goals going into this tournament. When we've been there in the past, we were restricted to areas we could fish, and all of a sudden now this, for Major League Fishing, all Wisconsin waters were open. You just couldn't fish Michigan waters. Well, when you looked at a map and you saw how much water there was in Wisconsin, you're like, oh crap, like all the way out to Washington Island, all the way back down on the Lake Michigan side of the peninsula. I'm like, whoa, we got some serious water to fish. How do you cover all that water in 2 days? I can't. So I figured, let me go fish water that I don't normally fish. So day one of practice, we launched right at the mouth of Sturgeon Bay. All right, well I've never been over on the other side of Green Bay. Let's go look at that. Move and groove. Let the adventure begin. So I'm bouncing around trying all this different stuff. I pull up in the mouth of a creek, had one bite on a spinner bait and never hooked it, just hit it and I saw it turn. I'm like, oh, whatever. Something did it. Good fish, whatever it was. I don't know why I can't hook one. Oh, chubby smallmouth. 3-pounder. Probably did close to 100 miles in the boat that day, driving around trying to find, well, okay, they shallow, where are they, and trying to find a mother lode. And I never did. My day was really, really, really slow. I mean, I wound up catching a few fish up shallow, seeing a few fish swim around super shallow in a couple of the bays, but I left there going, well, that wasn't really productive. I was so excited to get out here and fish, thinking I was just gonna train wreck them. Today was tough. Not what I expected, but see a lot of stuff that looks good. I'm tired. We've had, we've had a 14-hour, a little over a 14-hour day so far. I'm ready for some food, drink, bed, because we got to get up at 3:30 and do it all over again. So day 2, I decide let's go out to the infamous Washington Island, because you hear, a lot of us has heard of like how amazing Washington Island and all that stuff way out there is. All right, we got this, let's go do it. So I get out there and I run some of the stuff where I got bites before, nothing happening. But I'm like, all right, well, let's keep looking. I wound up going like way offshore. We looked for islands and reefs that were like 10 miles offshore, and I'm get on these reefs and it's just like, it did not look smallmouth fishery at all. So you get out there and you fish 10 minutes. It took me a half hour to get out here, like you're in the waves. Yeah, that was a waste of time. You're not gonna catch one out here. Then you turn around and you go all the way back in. And I went from looking on the very inside of flats in a foot of water to mid depths to out. And the one thing I learned, like smallmouth fishing for me, is more often than not, I've not found a school of fish because I'm graphing looking for them. But when you're fishing for smallmouth in 10 to 20 foot of water, a lot of times smallmouth their bellies are on the bottom. So trying to see that fish sometimes is almost impossible. But I'm also a firm believer, they hear your motor coming and it's fairly clear water, so they go, and when you go by them, then they go back in. So because what happens is like you'll grab something and not see anything, and all of a sudden you get up front, you drop your trolling motor, and within a couple minutes, all of a sudden it's like, I'm like, where were you 30 seconds ago when I was graphing out here? Yeah, there's a whole school down there. About frickin' time. Golly. So day 2, it was all out at Washington Island and that water way out there. And I wound up catching, I think I caught 1 3-pounder on a spot that, and when I caught it, hooked it, there was 10 or 15 or 20 more just like it that came up with it. I'm like, a long ways to go for one spot, you know, like you're hoping that a smallmouth and the whole school is going to stay there. Doesn't always happen. This is Sturgeon Bay. It's one of the most famous smallmouth fisheries in the world, and that's supposed to have tons of 4 and 5 pound smallmouth, and I'm not catching them. I'm not catching any of them. Yeah, I was feeling pretty good about coming in this one, and now I'm scratching my head going, whoa, and I gotta catch them this week. I'm 4 points, or I think 4 points out of qualifying for REDCREST, and like 4 ounces or 5 ounces about qualifying for heavy hitters. So I gotta catch like a 5-pounder this week, and I need a good solid finish. All right, so I've eliminated all what I think, you know, outside way out potentials. So I think I'm gonna narrow it down. I'm like, all right, well, right at takeoff is as good a place to fish in my mind as anywhere. They got bridge pilings, there's usually fish around them, there's plenty around there. So I'm like, all right, I haven't fished here yet. We had like 45 minutes before takeoff, or from the time we launched to lines in. So I got to do a lot of graphing around the mouth of Sturgeon Bay, and you know, I saw some stuff that looked good, some balls of bay with a few fish around them. So it's a good place to start. I'm like, I felt like I could catch some fish just staying close. I mean, everything was setting up right, and I've caught fish there in the past, so I wasn't worried about that, and had some history there, and okay, cool, I'll catch them here. Period 1, day 1, it was me and Cody Meyer. We were both fishing, you know, bridge pilings and stuff inside there. He catches one, he catches another, he catches another, and I catch squat. I'm like, Drum, drum, drum. I'm like, well, this is not going so good. Period 1 is like, I sucked. I did not have a single keeper in the first period. I'm like, whoa. Justin Lucas, the day before, weighs 140 some odd pounds. Oh crap. When you know they're catching them like that and you don't have a fish in the first period, you're like, I gotta go do something different. And then I kind of went into panic mode. I'm like, what do I do? Well, I'm only 5 miles from where I had one bite in practice. And I'm like, all right, over there. I'm like, run over there. And there's some other stuff in there that just set up so perfect to me. Pick up a drop shot, Berkeley Max Scent General, and I can see all these fish on the graph. I'm like, okay, well, let's fish here. That's right, yeah, I mean, I'm catching them. 3-1, all right. There's more fish here, guys. Take them all day long. There's a lot more current coming out of here than you think. And I think second period, I went from no fish, and I think I ended up with 30 pounds, roughly right around 30 pounds the second period. Pretty much in that one spot.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That was to the second, wasn't it? That was a buzzer beater right there. Smallmouth fishing, you can be on the glory spot and catch smallmouth after smallmouth after smallmouth. And if the conditions change, wind, water, temperature, anything, it just disappears. So I'm like, I'm gonna pillage this for everything I can get out of it. 4.8, baby. Biggest yet. So I noticed that the drop shot bite was slowed down. I'm like, man, I know there's still fish here. Rigged up a pointer 78 in the Skeet's Magic color. Throw it out there. I'm like, oh, this is fun. God. I think I ended up the day in 5th place. So I went from not having a clue, didn't know I was gonna catch them, thought I was gonna catch them, close and take off, not, go to a place where I had 1 bite and turned it into 60 pounds. I was like, that worked out pretty good. I was happy, totally content. After day 1, I'm sitting in great shape. I'm 5th place in my round. Okay, so 1 step closer to REDCREST. Check. I caught a 4.8 was my biggest fish, so not quite where I wanted to be, but I'm like, all right, I still need a 5+, I think, for heavy hitters, but still potential. So my philosophy was, when I go out on day 2, I need 35 pounds was gonna be enough to make sure I made it to knockout round. Might as well go fish my spot again, across the lake, and see what I can, go catch a few fish, try and catch enough just to guarantee my spot into the knockout round. Hooked underneath the belly. But we're on the board today, kids. 3-4 to start the day. Yes. Oh, I love smallmouth. 2.11. There we go. Not so little. I caught 20 pounds or so and realized that I was kind of pulling away from the field a little bit more as far as the gap between 20th and where I was. I was like, I don't think I need to burn any more of these fish. So I said, all right, I've caught enough. Let's go start pre-fishing. So went back and started fishing some other stuff on the other side of the lake.
I gotta get one in first.
Then I started fishing a little bit of history on stuff where I caught them the year before with the family, just dinking around out there and just blind casting the drop shot with the Maxent General out there and just made the knockout round. I think I had 108 pounds, which I was like, it wasn't 200 pounds, I touched him, but it was 108 pounds of smallmouth. That's fun. The wind is forecasted to blow 15 to 20 out of the south, which blows straight across the other side of the lake where I was fishing. I'm like, ruh-roh. 5 to 10, no problem. 15 starts getting pretty lumpy. 20 is an ass kicker. I didn't feel comfortable about going across the lake in south winds. So I was like, all right, pull the plug. Don't worry about that. You've already made a knockout round. I still need a top 25 finish to qualify for REDCREST. The wind's changing, the current's changing. I'm like thinking, I wonder if Washington Island's gonna turn on with the current change and everything. I'm like, screw it, let's go. And what the cool thing about what Major League Fishing did for this tournament is that, for a safety standpoint, not for ourselves, but for our boat officials, is they allowed us to launch at any public boat ramp we wanted to. So if you wanted to drive an hour and a half by truck to launch and then go fish, you could. It was lines in at 8 o'clock, that's all that mattered. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go to Washington Island. So I pick up my boat official, We leave at 6:30. It's an hour drive out to the peninsula where I launched. And where I launched, it was, it was in the backside of a pocket, so it was calm. But when we got around the corner, and then we started to get in the gap between the peninsula and Washington Island, then it was just like, whoosh, and we both, whoosh, whoosh. Oh, this is fun. Yay. I'm like, the one spot, I caught one 3-pounder in practice, and the whole school came up with it. I'm like, all right, I gotta go check that. Get lined up, make a cast. Ooh. So I hook one. My drag has come loose through whatever reason, it could be for me, but I just go, I went, uh-oh, and a 3-pounder comes up, spits my bait. I'm like, I was so pissed because that was my fault. I mean, there's a tip for you, just to always check your drag, because sometimes it's just other reels hit it, you set a rod down, it backs the drag off 1/4 turn on your spinning reel. Now it's too loose. Something like that, I'm assuming, is what happened to mine. And that was my fault. I did not check my drag before I made a cast. Never had another bite there. I don't know if it was just the only one there, or spooked the fish, or whatever. I fished there for about 10 more minutes, never had a bite. And I'm like, I've got a couple of areas in there that, I've caught some, some decent ones, 4-pounders, and you can see big ones swimming around once in a while. So went on some other flats, covered water. I had about 10-15 minutes left in the first period, and I'm like, we're done. We can't stay here. We gotta go. What do I do at this point in time? Okay, it's first period. They're catching them. I don't have any. Where do I go? So second period starts. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna go pre-fish, go run new water. So I come out of this bay and I come around the corner. I'm like, oh crap, I thought I was gonna be calm going down the shoreline. And I'm like, well, if I wanna go 10 more miles, that's gonna take a while. Screw it, I'm gonna put it on the trailer, go back to Sturgeon Bay. I'm gonna go across the lake and fish my spot. That's what I'm gonna do. It seemed like a logical, great idea. Second period starts, put on the trailer. I drive an hour back to Sturgeon Bay. So during this hour, we can drive and go change locations by vehicle during competition hours. That's your choice. So as I'm driving, I'm still getting score tracker updates from my boat official sitting next to me. He's like, oh, so-and-so. I'm like, I really don't like you right now. Because I don't have any fish, I don't have any weight, and they're still catching the crap out of them. Well, I just need one good period, and I can catch enough weight to make it to championship round, catch enough to make REDCREST. I get out there, the wind direction, I get to run the troughs across. It was still rough, still, kind of getting side spray, just blowing across. And at this time, I think I had a half hour less to fish in the second period, but I think it was like 20 to 30 minutes of fishing time that I had in the second period once I got over there. So I'm thinking, okay, I got third period to fish. I'm gonna have all third period, and that's what I need. But in that 20 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever the time was, I didn't catch a keeper, but I still got a whole period ahead of me. Sit down, end of period, eat lunch, here comes the storm. Blowing up, lightning, got dumped on. Winds up being almost a 3-hour weather delay. I think the storm probably, I don't know how many people were, closer to it than we were. So I think the storm hit us first, but it was gone, and then it got sunny where I was, and it was nice, beautiful. So at one point in time, we're sitting there during a weather delay. It's beautiful, sunny. The lake slicked out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they are chewing right now. This is like the best possible time to be catching a fish right now. And we can't fish. Command center for Major League Fishing, they can see where everybody's at. So they know that when everybody is out of harm's way is when they allow us to start fishing. So everybody's lines out at the same time, everybody's lines in at the same time. Finally, we get word Lines back in at 5 o'clock. So you're saying I have 1 hour left to decide my fate for the rest of the season, whether I'm going to qualify for REDCREST, heavy hitters. Didn't like it. Didn't like the sound of it. I didn't like the odds of it. And in the process, during that time frame, the wind switched straight south. I'm realizing I don't know if I can fish here. We're gonna fish here a few minutes, and if they're, hey, hopefully they're biting. If not, I don't know what else to do at this point in time. I caught a couple more little ones, and I'm realizing my day is done. My whole thing is about don't live with fear and don't let fear drive you. And I didn't want to live with regrets, so to make the commitment to go out to Washington Island, because what if it works? When you see what's being caught and you see me with a 0, something doesn't register. There's like, no, he couldn't possibly blank. Oh, hell yeah, I blanked. I did. I had one shot at a 3-pounder and that was it. At least I know I got my ass handed to me. I got beat fair and square. I pushed the envelope to try and make something happen. It did not happen. Accept it as a learning process and a learning curve for next time we ever go back there. These conditions, check, don't do that. Not the way I wanted the end of the season, but I've had bad tournaments in the past. I've had bad seasons in my career. I've had a lot of good ones too, so I'm not done. I'll regroup, get ready for next season. Hopefully you enjoyed the ride. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Make sure you like, subscribe, Skeet Reese Fishing. Until next time, tight lines, go crack a big